Mammary gland, vulva, vagina, ovaries. Scientifically, that is all that characterizes woman. Society explains that if you have these, you must be female. Sex, biological attributes, physical nature. No emotional meaning unless we assign it. But as a society, we have. In my quest, I will specifically focus on the symbol of sex. We call them boobs, tits, titties, cherries. But never a source of life, symbols of motherhood, or just plainly, respectfully breasts. But it wasn't always like that. My dear audience, put your seatbelts on, because I'm about to take you on a trip in time. At the beginning of Stone Age, we can see the most important physical attributes were to have a female physically able to bear and nurse children. So it's fully about motherhood and not sex. Second millennium BC. Those paintings were found with women doing their daily tasks topless. It was natural with no body standards. Let's move a little more in time. 31st BC to 180 AD. Greek and Roman Empire. Women for the first time in history weren't allowed to be topless. In fact, being topless was associated with prostitution and debasing yourself. Unless you were Aphrodite, goddess of love, a man's perfect woman, you weren't allowed to be topless. And even though religion was not the full problem here, institutionalizing it has affected how we look at celibacy and chastity. Because when in the Middle Ages, Christianity took over, women went through the round of shaming. It was perfectly normal for them to nurse a baby with only one breast out in public, but to be even considered as art, unacceptable. And even though we did start normalizing breasts and bodies in all shapes and sizes around the Renaissance, sexualization became a bigger issue here. Women were supposed to serve their husband, bear children, and have no aspirations towards anything else in marriage. Continuing with this trend in the 17th and 18th century, we hit a plot twist in the Victorian era. Here, having very little information about any female anatomy, we start idealizing again. Women's breasts were supposed to look like Venuses, which results in nymph and mythological naked creatures paintings to be completely acceptable for the conservatively growing public, but paintings of actual human nude women, unacceptable. And let's not forget about colonialism. Before the 1930s, women in Bali were allowed to be topless, but then the tourists came, and sexualization with it. The world becomes very controlled in art, until we invent the cinema. The 20th century started revealing more female anatomy and nudity with the invention of the internet. We start seeing breasts as a symbol of sex, and not motherhood, definitively. But what about now? In the 21st century, we've been considerably more liberal, with body image positivity and less taboo, but still as an irony to all of our progress, we keep regressing with the tendency to remain sexualizing breasts. The fifth SDG Target 2.0 states, we will eliminate all forms of violence against girls and women in private and public spheres by 2030. But even with these goals, we have constant abuse of viewing young girls. Women are expected to feel fine with sexualization, objectification, and limitation. We keep telling ourselves being woman is wrong, keep feeling ashamed with our own bodies. Impacting young girls' mental health shapes us as society in the wrong direction. I feel very strongly about it because I get to grow up in this world. And as a girl, I feel a million different things every day. From my personal experience, I hate being sexualized. As every person, I like being complimented or even called pretty by people my age, or maybe a little older. But when I walk on the beach in a bikini, that makes me feel good about myself. And have old men stare at my body, it makes me want to run and run and run. Till I fall. I won't be able to show myself again. How many of you have experienced that before? How many of you have felt uncomfortable because of someone's nice compliment? Society tells us how to and how to not act all the time, but we as females have to learn how to defend ourselves and others. Learn how to say no. Now repeat after me. No. I actually need you to say it. No! Louder! No! I still can't hear you. No! I'm proud of you. At the beginning, when I first came up with this idea, I knew it wouldn't be an easy road. Having my constructive criticism from my teachers, Andy Belora, I almost gave up a couple times. Actually, fully and completely last Friday, around 1:34, when I got the message. I wasn't allowed to make my original idea. A female topless woman. But then hope appeared. I understood I was doing this only for myself. I was doing it for women. Women who weren't heard or did not find their voice. So what I'm trying to say here, the future of a society fully depends on us. Young and old, short and tall. So what is it going to be? Are we going to change or let others destroy our own beliefs? You've got to invest in the world. You've got to read. You've got to go to art galleries. And you've got to find out names of plants. You've got to start to love the world and know about the whole genius of human race. We are amazing people. Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a little girl. Having an older sister, she used to spend hours in front of her closet. Daydreaming of being a famous fashion designer, she imagined making people feel something. Whether there was love, hate, or confusion, at that moment she decided to make a change and wouldn't stop until she did. That little girl, yep, you've guessed right, was me. Clothing being just a piece of fabric in the society, they become something way bigger to me. My topic and passion led me to my biggest inspiration, Vivienne Westwood. Looking at dresses, eventually I found the perfect draping. Inspired by 1999 Silk Crochet wedding dress, my process was very long and hard. But now I'd like you to warmly welcome Pablo and my final product. The aim of my product was to make everyone realize that motherhood is such a beautiful thing, which in my opinion, we don't appreciate enough. I'd also like you to take away that mammary glands, tits, or now you know how to say it correctly, breasts, are just skin, fat and tissue, and it's us who give it meaning. So what value are you going to give? You're also probably wondering why I've been talking about women the whole time, with Pablo, my model, clearly isn't one. First, I'd like to define a word for you. Sexism. Prejudice, discrimination, and limitation, typically against women, on the basis of sex. The sad fact is, I wasn't allowed to have a female, topless, walk out, even with Indonesian anti-pornographic laws, legal documents, paper slips from parents for minors, and phone collections. But when I had to find a plan B and have a male walk out, I could throw that all out. It was possible. The objectification is just a microcosm of how hypocritically our society works. So I don't know who, when, or where created the system, but they must have been very not well, or with horrible intentions and beliefs. Because to make a whole community, no. Society, no. Again, too small of a word. World, believe that it's right and fine to act like that towards others. It's probably the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. The most disgusting thing we all experience. Society makes us believe that it's right and fine to shame others for who they were born as. Makes us believe that breasts are sex and not motherhood. Well, I know I won't be passively nodding my head anymore, agreeing politely and acting like a lady. I know I won't. But the real question here is, will you? I would also like to thank all my mentors, Ibulora and Angie, for never losing faith in me, Pani Julia, for showing you the bright side of life, Aziza and Patrick, for probably being the best artists I know, Pablo, for being brave enough to face the word stereotypes, my family and friends for supporting me throughout this opportunity. My gratitude also goes out to everyone who has, had, and will keep an open mind to change our community. Because Eleanor Roosevelt once said, well-behaved women rarely make history. So when I grow up, I don't want to be one. I'd rather make a real difference. Bye, middle school.